Lennon. How you feeling there, bud?
Brains. Am I right?
You need them. Yeah. Am I right, fellas? Am I right?
Get a load of this guy. This guy over here.
Guns to the crowd.
What's the deal with zombies eating brains? Am I right?
Okay. I'm gonna open this. What is your favorite type of apocalypse?
Oh God, there's just so many to choose from.
Yeah, there's a Mayan one.
Yeah,
that one's fun.
Yeah. What other ones are there? You give me a list, and I'll tell you which one's my favorite.
Off the dome, Mayan, asteroid, Y2K, Hitler came back.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna go with Hitler. No, I think Y2K.
Yeah, Y2K was fun.
Y2K was like
silly.
Mysterious, and also the fashion back then was weird, but
it's
kind of cool.
They're coming back.
It's cool again, baby.
Anyway, this is going to be a breakdown of late 90s, early 2000s fashion. No, we are looking this
Are
week
fingerless
at
gloves actually cool?
Bring it back. I just want the Scene Kids face to come back. No, today we are looking at Shaun of the Dead. We're revisiting this icon from, I think it was 2004.
Yeah, I think it was 2004.
It was 2004. And we're just going to have a little bit of a look at, like, does this movie still hold up today? Lennon, I'm going to go through a very quick synopsis from our sponsors, which is Google and ChatGPT. All right. Shaun of the Dead follows Shaun, an aimless Londoner, as he tries to win back his girlfriend and patch things up with his mum. Wait, is that ChatGPT? That doesn't feel, whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that's quite right.
I didn't even proofread this one. Only to find himself leading his friends through a sudden zombie apocalypse. His attempts to ride out the chaos at his favorite pub, the Winchester, forces him to confront responsibility, loss, and what it actually means to grow up.
I'd say that's more accurate, yeah.
I mean, he hates his stepdad.
Yeah.
Anyway, regardless, let's get into... I want to talk about our main trio. I feel like all good things have a trio. We just got done with the Star Wars trio. Now let's look at this one. Just as iconic, I would think. We got Shaun,
one of them says the N-word in this movie.
That shocked me, man.
Dude, it fully took me out of the movie. I was like, whoa.
that was a punch to the gut. It's not often you get that. I think, okay, let's have a little conversation here. Is 2004 too late for white dudes to be saying the N-word on film and TV?
Well, I mean, I would actually argue that it shouldn't have been a thing ever.
Good, excellent. That was the right answer. This is a trap. Ed does say the N-word. Otherwise, other than this, I like Ed in this movie. There's times in my life when I've been Ed, and there's been times in my life when I've had mates like Ed. I found this character annoyingly relatable. How do you feel about Ed in this flick?
He's that guy that never grew up past 17 and he peaked in high school, and he's the type of guy to just tell you that life doesn't get much better than high school. Am I right? He's great for a laugh, but he's fucking horrible to have as a mate if you're a responsible and mature adult, which this movie's theme is loosely based around that, and Shaun, questioning Shaun's maturity or his ability to take responsibility for himself and hold himself and those in his life accountable. But Ed is also like the worst company to have in a zombie apocalypse as well. It's funny to watch it.
Yeah.
But man, when I was like watching this movie, I was just like, you were just annoying me, because if this is real life, I'd be so pissed, dude.
That's sort of what I see as like a theme between Ed and Shaun's relationship.
Yeah.
Is Shaun has an issue where he's basically sleepwalking through life. He is quote unquote a
That's a good way of putting
modern day
it.
like zombie. Yeah, he's just going to the same pub, same mates, same job. He's just doing the same monotonous thing over and over. And like, I've had stages in my life like that. Actually, to be honest, probably haven't watched this movie much throughout my 20s, but being on the other end of it, I can heavily relate to Shaun in certain periods of my 20s. I think like this movie has a very different meaning from watching it as a kid to watching it now, because I'm like, oh geez, oh I get it. I do play a lot of video games and work a job, and but Ed is sort of, yeah, you're right, he is sort of the crux of Shaun's issues, and is sort of a manifestation of that. The perfect mate to get this symbolism across in terms of a story sense, because like he is unchanging, so dramatically so that he behaves the exact same way before and during a literal zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, it's almost
Like,
admirable to a certain degree.
Yeah,
Like, never changed, man.
He has not changed at all throughout this entire movie, maybe right up until the end. But
it's like,
yeah, I mean, I heavily... Oh, yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, like, who put this guy in charge of driving, by the way? Like, he's like, he's got his parked car, and then Shaun goes inside, comes outside, and he's fucking crashed it somehow. And it's just like, that in itself is just the epitome of Ed, this character.
Just great though. Just I love his character for this movie. But you're right, living with him and experiencing this in real life would be annoying.
We've all had a housemate like that.
Oh, sometimes I am. Like, I gotta say though, we do have to have a night soon, like Ed and Shaun had after Liz and Shaun broke up.
Yeah,
that looks fun.
It looks so much fun, dude. They're blissfully unaware of everything like falling apart around them, but they're just like. Singing with that zombie down the alleyway. It was just so fucking good, dude.
This weekend, buddy, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Get back to mine and we'll play some incredibly loud vinyls for my roommate to get mad at.
Dan would get mad as well, I think, because he has to work at like what time in the morning? 4
a.m. he wakes up.
Yeah, he'd be pissed.
Yeah, he comes upstairs, he gives me a little kiss on my forehead and he goes to work. Shaun, I love Shaun for this. Shaun's character development throughout this is great. As I've said, he does have his sleepwalking through life. He's not making decisions. You can't really talk about Shaun without talking about his relationship to other characters, really, I find. So Shaun, I think when I was a kid and I didn't understand relationships, I thought Liz was a bitch.
I remember her being that way as well. But like when I was watching this movie, I'm like, she's right.
Justified.
She's right. And the whole movie.
Dude, I've had conversations like this with exes like throughout my 20s and stuff like that. But like I wrote down a little speech she had because as soon as she said it, I was like, oh yeah, she is totally justified. But she goes, you know, it's these small micro frustrations that really leave a human stagnant. And she's gone like, you promised you'd stop smoking when I did. You promised you go back to the gym. You promised you try drinking red wine instead of beer. You promised you'd come on holiday with me. That little speech, that little like rant that she has. I was like, yeah, all that stuff does add up to just a stagnant, boring person. And Liz is totally justified for not wanting to be in this relationship. You know who else is another surprisingly justified character?
Who?
Pete, the roommate.
Oh, yeah.
I thought this guy was a dick when I was a kid. To be honest, bro. Yeah, I would be annoyed at both Ed and Shaun quite a lot. And like, even when he's mad at Shaun, it's still like in the way of like, you gotta, like a wake up call, like you gotta get your life together, mate. Da 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 da. I don't know. I think Pete was done dirty in this movie. Yeah,
a little bit. But at the same time though, it's interesting because I feel like we're kind of edging on a certain point. I know we're talking about characters, but it's just an interesting observation that it's like, oh, I remember this being like this, but now watching it, it's like this for me. And it's making me wonder because I've got the exact same experience as you. I think I first watched this movie when I was maybe like 12 or 13 or something like that. Like I was watching it at a mate's place and it was just like the funniest movie I've ever watched. And I really liked the main protagonist. And I think it's because, you know, I was basically a kid and I thought, oh, it's so funny watching these characters who are basically just man children just navigate their way through this zombie apocalypse. And oh, Liz is a bitch and Pete is a dickhead, like a loser, like just a mean, grumpy, boring, like housemate kind of guy. And I'm wondering, because obviously now I'm watching this and I feel like my opinion on these characters have done a complete 180. And it's making me wonder, was it because I was a kid or was it because movies were just different back then and the character traits that we appreciated back then were just different compared to now? So I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's genuine. I think it's a product of us getting older and living through some of these experiences ourselves and sort of seeing like, yes, living like how Ed and Shaun live at the start of this movie is not reasonable and it's not good to live like that in there. I think Shaun is 29, 30 in this movie.
Yeah, he's 29.
That's not okay. to live like this at that age. And I don't know, I think when you come into it with a sense of immaturity, you resonate with this 29-year-old as a 14-year-old. That's not okay either. That's
a good point.
That's not good either. So yeah, I think there's a hint of truth in both elements of what you're saying there. I don't know, insert that speech that the glasses guy from Jujutsu Kaisen says about getting older.
You faced several life or death situations, but that does not make you an adult. Realizing your hair is falling out on your pillow. Realizing your favorite bread has disappeared from the convenience store. The accumulation of those little moments of despair in life is what makes a person an adult.
Real quick before we just get into like the general vibe of the whole thing, I really like Philip in this. I don't agree with. I mean I like Bill Nighy as a actor and how his character services the plot in this movie. I don't like the dad because I think he is actually a dick still. So maybe that changes when I hit my 50s or 60s. Maybe that's another landmark with this movie.
Wow, this movie is really just holding up a mirror to us as we get older.
What a layered for a zombie comedy. But yeah, no, this Bill Nighy is really good in this. I think that speech he has in the car just before he turns is really heartwarming. But he does play a comically angry,
awkward.
Shitty, awkward. It's that level of like, he's sort of an asshole, but just in a stern dad way. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that an archetype that? Look at my family tree. Dad, if you're listening, so I'm joking. But yeah, no. Before we wrap up the characters, is there anything else that you want to talk about with the main cast that we got in this one?
When I was watching this movie, I found this a little bit more challenging to kind of pick up on things to talk about because, and I think it's purely just the fact that it's a comedy rather than like an action drama or this hero's journey where all the characters are more one note, but it's because, you know, they've got this one personality trait of, say, we've got David and Diane. So like David is like secretly into Liz, and then it's just this weird relationship dynamic between David and Diane and then Liz, and there's nothing else to it. It's just that. And all of these characters that you see throughout the movie, they're just all one note. You only see like one side of them, and I think you can't really flesh them out too much with the pace of this movie because it is a really fast-paced movie, which is really refreshing and really, I was really engaged throughout this movie. But yeah, I think this does focus on, you've got your core Shaun and Ed, and then anyone else in the movie, it's just like they've got their one character trait, and it's mainly Ed.
Liz sort of is a bit of a conduit for Shaun's character growth, but by herself, standalone, and then the rest are just sort of comedic characters, which we signed up for. It's a comedy.
Exactly.
Outside of just like the comedy elements and like sort of this coming of age story. Coming of age is a weird sort of thing to say in your how old he is. But like, it is sort of that. It's like your second wind, I guess. It is a huge love letter to zombie movies. Like, you have got like,
zombies are really good in this movie.
Zombies are great. It's obviously like a comedic spoof of like George A. Romero's work, you know, like the Dead franchise, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, da. But with this movie, like, you do have like some of the tropes, like the mum hides a zombie wound and you know, all that sort of stuff, or like the last little, like the zombies tapping on the glass or being revealed by like a light flickering on and stuff like that. That stuff's great in this. I do like, also just being like a general zombie fan, I do enjoy that stuff. That stuff's really fun. But otherwise, yeah, it's just a great, what would you call this, comahority? I made that word felt like an accident, and it was an accident.
I mean, I'd say it's a comedy. I mean, I remember it being a lot gorier than it actually was. I think
the only bit of gore that really gets me is the mum's bite wound. I just don't like the idea of the cardigan being pressed against it.
Really? For me, it's like when that guy goes out the window and like gets pulled apart.
Nah, that's funny. It's so goofy. His legs pop off. And then his head just, that's hilarious. Yeah, okay. I guess that's just the distinction between a horror fan and someone that doesn't watch horror movies. You see that, you're like, oh, gore, and I'm like, wow, that looks so shit. And then like, I'm just getting caught up on like the little like, oh, that cardigan would not feel nice on that open wound. Like, ooh. But actually, no, we haven't really talked about the comedy in this. Now, we talked about this before the start of the episode, but I'm not one. This is a clip show. We're not just going to start rating our favorite jokes.
No.
But I do really appreciate how unapologetically British the sense of humor in this is. Like the amount of callbacks. I think one of my favorite little gags within this is Shaun constantly waking up, sort of sounding like a zombie when he yawns and he does that sort of thing.
Yeah,
going into like him going to work and then that being mirrored for his hangover day when his, like, you know, that scene where he's like going to work and he walks past the kids playing soccer and he's like, "You're dead," and then walks into the store, and then that same scene is rehashed again when the zombie outbreak has actually sort of kicked off.
Yeah, I thought it was really creative, and it feels very Edgar Wright to me because,
yes,
you know, the intro of this movie is super playful. How, you know, it's got the intro music playing, and then you have all these people like walking and loitering, but they're not zombies. They're just like looking like zombies, but they're not actual zombies. And then, you know, you've got the classic Edgar Wright like punch-in shots and stuff like that, which is just so much fun. And kind of what you talked about before, how there's that long tracking shot, like a one shot of Shaun going from his apartment to the shop. And then, like you said, it gets mirrored and he just doesn't even notice it because he's just like in his own little world. I just thought there's a lot of creative humor that I think Edgar Wright is really well known for. And I feel like he makes movies for like film enthusiasts or people who have a keen eye for stuff like that. But I wonder how much that comedy translates to, I guess, people who don't really necessarily give a shit about that kind of stuff. To me, I thought that this was a funny movie. I don't know 100% how much some of the writing holds up. Overall, I think a lot of the comedy is also within the pacing and the camera movements and the actual execution of how things are like framed and edited.
Yeah, and there's obviously like some of the classic scenes. Like I really liked how everything's sort of paced with the vinyl scene. How slow. I think that's one of the standouts of this movie. And you mentioning pacing, that's exactly what I thought about. Because the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, thank God these are slow zombies, man. Because like, thank God these are, you know, Night of the Living Dead-esque just wandering zombies. Because if these were like sprinters, this scene would not hold up. This whole movie,
dude, 100%.
That'd be gone in minutes.
And I think there's also like humor and repetition as well. Kind of like
it works in threes, baby.
Oh, it's so funny. Like when they're like going through their plan, it's like, all right, so we're gonna go over, rescue Mum, kill Philip, go to Liz, go back home. Oh, we can't go back home. Okay, well, we're gonna go to the Winchester, and it's just like keeps going over the same plan. Yeah. I thought that was really fun. And there's also a joke. I don't know if you remember this because we haven't checked out Hot Fuzz and At World's End yet. But there's a moment
Spoiler,
where...
that is what we're doing. That's the trilogy we're looking at.
Yeah, we're looking at the Cornetto Trilogy, FYI. Yeah. But the thing is, there's a moment where they're
talking about the fence.
The fence, yeah. I was going to say, so when he's like, "Oh, what's the matter, David? Haven't taken a shortcut before?" And I was thinking, I'm like, I feel like I've seen that in Hot Fuzz. Like, is that a reoccurring joke?
I think it is in all of them. I think it is
no way.
In all of them. Yeah. I think the Cornetto Trilogy has a better ring to it than the Fence Trilogy.
Yeah, fucking oath.
I'm pretty sure that is a running joke throughout all of them. And I guess like really quick before we get into like last thoughts and a verdict, I do really enjoy the ending of this movie. I do like that, you know, going with the metaphor of, I guess, Shaun's grown up and is taking a bit more agency in his life. I do like that he still sort of has that man cave with Zombie Ed, just playing video. Like he still has that. That's the equivalent, isn't it? That's sort of what they're saying is like, yeah, he still has the things he enjoys. Like you don't have to dead that just to grow up, but I do really like that just as like a meta context on what this whole thing is. But yeah, no, any other thoughts about the movie before we sort of move on? You can say no and we'll just cut it.
Well, I was just going to say, not particularly. I mean, I think my thoughts are probably going to fit in more with my overall verdict, but I'd say like just one thing is that everyone just throws the softest shit at zombies in this movie. It's just like a little block of wood, a toy, a bear, a pillow, a tennis ball. Like you're throwing all this shit at these zombies. Everyone does it in this movie. And I'm just like, what are you guys doing? It's a zombie outbreak. You're throwing a tennis ball at a zombie.
Put these guys in the 28 Weeks Later universe.
Oh, that'd be fucked.
Yeah. Before we get into the final verdict, do you think that this was actually, and I know it's a comedy, so don't take it too seriously, but do you think that this was actually a good zombie plan?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. If it were me, I would try and go into an apartment above ground. I wouldn't be like trying to go to a pub in the middle of the CBD.
No, Liz's apartment was pretty. I mean, as long as the apartment doesn't get breached, which I don't think these zombies are gonna do that.
No, I didn't think they would at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're fine as long as you stay inside in a place that's, has an elevator or like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be all right.
If anything, I felt like they actually played into the idea of like, okay, we're finally here, everything's all boarded up, and they're just sitting there bored shitless. It's just like, I felt like it actually showed us, okay, this is what he really wanted. Now that we're here, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, and I do like that. It's a sobering realization for them, I think. But yeah, no, I do think, when I was watching this in my head, just coming from a zombie plan, because I was like, whenever I watch these movies, I'm like, how smart are these characters really? And obviously these characters aren't. I was trying to justify it. I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you could border it up, and you could, like, there's the escape hatch that they go out later, and there's web. Like, I see the thoughts. But like, zombie rule number one is get somewhere that's not populated. Like, get away from people, because people are zombies. They went straight to a pub in, I'm guessing, town center.
Yeah.
Dumb.
But to be fair, if that's what this movie is, it's a movie about dumb people making dumb decisions. So if they didn't do what they did, obviously we wouldn't have a movie that's relatively entertaining, So
oh yeah. This question is breaking the movie 100%.
Yeah,
I recognize that, and I live in that truth. Yeah, just like if these zombies were any other type of fictional zombies, it's ruined as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely fucked. All right, final verdicts. Do you reckon this holds up, Lennon?
It's tough because there's a lot to enjoy with this movie. But I was watching it and I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as I did back in the day. I'm going to say, if you're not easily offended and you can tolerate watching intentionally annoying people as the main protagonist of a movie, if you can check out, suspend your disbelief, and just enjoy the comedy, the execution and the humor, the delivery of how absurd and chaotic and stupid everything is, I think that it does hold up in that sense. But I do kind of feel like it's a product of like the early 2000s, and I found myself, just getting really frustrated at some of the decisions, or, even with Shaun, like you said, sleepwalking through life, not paying attention to his girlfriend. He knows that he has to deal with Ed, but he doesn't want to. It became way easier to watch the second half of the movie as he is starting to grow. But then Ed is still just Ed, and he's just like really fucking annoying the whole way through the movie.
You aren't a fan of friends farting in your face and playing it as a joke? I'll note that one down.
I would say it does hold up with an asterisk. How's that sound?
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree. I think for me, watching it now at this stage of my life compared to like the last time I watched this, I was probably like 16.
Yeah.
Like I was loving all this sort of stuff. It was silly little dick jokes and all that. I think the comedy doesn't hold up as much, even though it is charming. I will say the comedy is like charming and it is well thought out.
Oh, some of the writing is pretty bad. And then also the fact that like...
the writing's bad. I'm talking more like the referential callback sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The who's the director again?
Edgar Wright.
The Edgar Wrightisms of this movie, I think, are still charming. Yes, the characters themselves are anything but. My main takeaway as to why I think this is aged well, and this might just be a personal journey, is just purely the themes actually hit this time. Because I would not have picked up on this as a 16-year-old kid watching this. It's a different layer to the movie I never would have really noticed.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that there's things that I've appreciate a lot more. Like, say, for example, Liz. I like that they didn't take the piss out of her or call her a bitch or take that easy route of being like, fuck her kind of thing.
That would have made it a product of its time. So that would have been bad.
Yeah. Oh, that fucking broad, that dumb bitch.
Girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay. All
so
right, sweet.
There's like themes like that I think that's held up really well. Like she was quite charming to a certain degree. Like she stood her ground. She was completely right. And even when they link up for his, zombie plan, she just wasn't like reluctantly going with it. She was quite, all right, this is the situation that we're in. Like, I may as well make myself useful and like make the most out of the situation. Like, I thought that was really good. Dropping the N-word though, I don't know. That's a bit,
It does date it. I just try to ignore that a little bit. I'm trying to ignore that the best I can.
Yeah.
I think that's just them trying to paint Ed as a bad guy. And he was. But yeah, no. All right, well, I guess that wraps us up. Well, next week, next week is Hot Fuzz. That's the second one up in this trilogy.
It sure is, buddy. And I can't wait to watch it.
We're going from N-words to cop plots. Sweet. What a great way to go. Thank you guys for listening, and stick around because next week we are going to look at Hot Fuzz. Whoop, 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 whoop.